Hello, in this tutorial we're going to be creating a paper using LaTeX. Our paper will include a title page, a table of contents, sections and subsections, footnotes, citations, and a bibliography. Let's get started by creating a new file. And before I type any code, I'm going to save my file. I'm going to begin with \document class. I'm going to use 11 point. And the type of class is article. We'll come back and add some packages in a moment, but first I'm going to do begin document and end document and just type hello. Now I'm pressing F1 as a shortcut to compile, but you can also use this arrow to the left of quick build. Now let's add a few packages that we're going to need. \use package, and I'm going to start with the geometry package to change my margin size to 1 inch. So type margin equals 1 IN, and in the curly brackets, geometry. Since I'm going to be typesetting math, I'm going to add use package AMS fonts, comma, AMS math, comma, AMS symb. I'm also going to add a package that will prevent LaTeX from using hyphenated words. So use package, in the square brackets I'm going to type none, in the curly brackets I'm going to type hyphenate. No E on the end. The next thing I'm going to do is set up some basic sections within my document. My first section is going to be called Introduction, and obviously you will use whatever section titles and subsection titles are appropriate for your paper. Because I'm recording this video for the purpose of my IB Math students to create their internal assessment, the content of the paper that I'm creating is all going to relate to the scoring criteria for their internal assessment, so just keep that in mind. My next section I'm going to call Scoring Criteria. And then my final section will be called Conclusion. Let's compile that and see what we've got. If you've already decided on the structure of your paper, you can go ahead and add your subsections at this point. I'm going to add a few more subsections to my document. Next, I'm going to work on my title page. And for my title page, I'm going to use the fancy header package. So in my preamble, I'll add another \use package, fancy HDR. This is going to allow me to create a custom header and footer. Still in the preamble, I'm going to type \page style, and in curly brackets, fancy. I want to clear the default header and the default footer. So next I'm going to type \fancy head, and I'm going to leave, in curly brackets, I'm going to leave that empty, and that will clear the default header. Then \fancy foot, and again I'm going to leave the curly brackets empty to clear the default footer. So now when I compile, we'll see if we get rid of this page number at the bottom. And indeed we do. Next I'm going to type \fancy head, and in square brackets, a capital L. And this is going to place something on the left side of my header. In curly brackets, I want my title. So I'm going to put place title here, just as a placeholder for my title. Now that's not exactly what I want my title to look like. I want my title to be in caps. So in front of the place title here, text, I'm going to type \make uppercase, and then put my title in curly brackets. Notice I used a capital M, capital U. So now my title is capitalized, but I also want it to be in italics. So before the make uppercase, I'm going to type \SL shape. And now my text is slanted. I'm going to add the student's name on the right side of the header. So fancy head. In square brackets, I'm going to use a capital R for the right. And then in curly brackets, backslash SL shape, that's optional. And then student name. Finally, I want to set my footer. So in the next line, backslash fancy foot. In square brackets, C for center. In curly brackets, backslash the page. And that's going to put the page number in the center of the footer. So I have that down here again where I want it. Now if you don't like the horizontal line in the header, you can remove that. Backslash renew command, curly brackets, backslash head rule width, and then in curly brackets 0 point. So the thickness of that line will be 0. And that removed the horizontal line. But I like the horizontal line, so I'm going to comment this part of the code out. If you're seeing a horizontal line in your footer, you can remove that in a similar fashion with backslash renew command, curly brackets, backslash foot rule width, curly brackets 0 point. Now my header and footers will appear on all of my pages. I'm not going to want that to display on my title page, so we'll see how we can remove it from the title page here in a moment. To create the title page, I'm going to go after begin document and type backslash begin and then in curly brackets title page. Now this template I'm creating is for an IB Math paper, so I'm going to do backslash begin center. And then of course that has a matching end center. And in between there, I'm going to type IB Mathematics SL. Now I want to work with that a little bit. First of all, I would like it to be in bold. So in front of that, I'm going to type backslash text BF and put the text in curly brackets. That should make it bold. I also want to increase the size. So in front of that, I'll do backslash large with a capital L. I'm going to break the line, and then similarly backslash large, and I guess I should have used curly brackets here. And then here again bold, so backslash text BF, internal assessment. And I'm going to move that a little bit further down the page by inserting backslash V space 1 cm. Next I want to actually insert the title of the paper, but I want to create a large space between the heading I just typed and the title of the paper. So I'm going to type backslash V fill. That is a vertical fill, and it'll automatically adjust the amount of space between these two items. So next I'm going to create a horizontal line, backslash line 1, 0 in parentheses, and then the length of my line in curly brackets, 400. Since I used V-fill, it's automatically putting vertical space between those two elements to fill the page. As I add more information, it'll reduce the amount of that vertical spacing. So after that horizontal line, I'm going to type my title. I know I want it to be bold, and I want it to be larger than what I've already typed, so I'm going to make it huge. Backslash huge, curly bracket, backslash text BF. This is a sample title. I'm going to do something similar for my subtitle. I want to make it a little bit smaller, so backslash large with a capital L. I'm going to make it bold. This is a sample subtitle. Okay, and I got a compiling error, so let's see what I did wrong. I misspelled text BF. I forgot the T. There we go. And I'm going to make that look a little bit nicer. I'm going to put just a hyphen space around it. And I think we need a little more space in between those two lines of text and maybe above and below my horizontal lines. So I'm going to add in some spacing here, 1 millimeter. And then let's do 3 millimeters here. And we'll end with 1 millimeter here. And then put another horizontal line. Okay, that looks good, but obviously it's too low on the page. So I'm going to add another /v fill to fill with vertical space. And now it's more centered on the page. Now at the bottom, I do want to put some more information, like the name of the author and the date. So I'm going to add by, and then you would type your name. When submitting papers to IB, we also want to include our candidate number. And then \today will automatically set today's date, or whichever date you last compile your paper in. And there I have my title page. Next, I'm going to add some text to my sections and subsections, and then we'll see how we can build a table of contents. Now I've pasted in some text. I've also added a table and an image. So I am going to have to add a couple more packages up in my preamble. I'm going to add /use package graphic X and /use package float. Compile that and let's see what we've got. So I have my title page, then my introduction, my second section. I've inserted a table, and then we can see here I've inserted an image as well, and some other text in my remaining sections. You might also notice, and by default LaTeX will do this, the very first paragraph is not indented, but the remaining paragraphs are. So within each section, your first paragraph will not be indented. Personally, I prefer not to have my paragraphs indented, so I am going to go into my preamble and add this command, \par indent 0ex, and that's going to remove the paragraph indentation. So now all my paragraphs are flush left. Now if you don't like that, we can comment out, and I can also add a few more options here. \set length /par indent, and in the second set of curly brackets for EM, this is going to change the width of that indent. So you can adjust how far you want those paragraphs indented. We can also do \set length \par skip, paragraph skip 1em, and that's going to change the amount of spacing in between your paragraphs if you want to adjust that. And we can do \renew command \baseline stretch 1.5. Okay, so that's affecting my line spacing of my paragraphs. I'm going to remove the indentation and comment out the paragraph skip and the paragraph indent. So now I have something that looks like it's about 1.5 line spacing, and I've got 1-inch margin. So again, you can play with those settings to customize your paper. Now that we have some text, let's go ahead and create a table of contents. I need to add a package in order to do that. \use package. And in the square brackets, I'm going to type NOTTOC, comma, NOTLOT, comma, NOTLOF. In the curly brackets, TOCBIBIND. Let's go into our body of our document, and right after my title page, before my first section begins, I'm going to type \table of contents and compile again. And there's my table of contents with the updated page numbers. Now I would like my table of contents to be on its own page, and I also don't want to have the header and footer on my table of contents page. So right after \table of contents, I'm going to type \this page style, and then in curly brackets empty. And that's going to remove the header and footer from that page. And then \clear page. Now my table of contents is on its own page, no header and footer, and this is not being counted as page number 1. Neither is my title page. If you notice, title page, table of contents, and then it's the next page. Actually, no, that is numbering page number 2. Okay, so we want to avoid that. I want this page to be numbered as page 1. So after my \clear page, I'm going to type \set counter in curly brackets page, and then in curly brackets 1. Let's see if that does the trick. There we go. Now the first page with my introduction is numbered page 1. Okay, we're almost done. We still need to talk about how to create footnotes, citations, and our bibliography. Let's start with a footnote. In my introduction, suppose I want to add a footnote in this after this last sentence. It will enable students to acquire the attributes of the IB Learner profile. Right where I want to insert the footnote, I'm just going to type \footnote, and in curly brackets, type the text of my footnote. An example footnote. And when I compile, we see that it is numbered as number 1, our first footnote, and then at the bottom of that page, we see the text for our footnote. Now in our paper, if we're going to use tables or figures, then we want to refer to them in our text. In order to do that, we want to assign a label for them. So my table, I want to assign a label to it. I'm going to go within the code for my table, and I'm going to put that right after the caption. On a new line, I'm going to type \label, and then in curly brackets, TAB for table, colon, and then you can name it whatever keyword you like. I'm just going to call it data 1. And now this table has been assigned that label. So within my text, I can refer to it. So I'm going to find in my text where I mentioned the table, and I'll add C table, and I would like it to say C table 1, since this is labeled as table 1. So C table \ref, that's the reference, and then in curly brackets, TAB colon data 1, since that's the way I labeled that table. Now in my document, it says C table ? If we hit compile again, it should paginate that correctly. C table 1. We can do something very similar with our figure. So if I find the code for my figure right after the caption, I'm going to type \label, and this one is a figure, so FIG colon, and again we can use whatever keyword we like here. This is the squeeze theorem, so I'm just going to call it squeeze. And within my text, I'm going to find where I referred to that image. Students are encouraged to choose and use appropriate ICT tools such as graphic display calculator, screenshots, graphing. So maybe here's where I would like to reference my figure. See figure and then \ref, and then in curly brackets I'm going to type the label FIG, and TechMaker has already found it and is suggesting that, so I'll just hit enter to accept that. Compile. Again, we see the question mark. I'm going to compile again, and now it says see figure 1. Note that we're not actually numbering the figures ourselves. LaTeX will automatically number them for us as we go. We're just giving them name labels, not number labels. Okay, I think we're ready to create our bibliography, and then we'll see how we can cite those sources within the body of our paper. Okay, let's scroll towards the end of our document, but before end document, and I'm going to type my bibliography entries. Now there are many ways to create bibliographies using LaTeX, and if you have a lot of references, you may want to create a separate bibliography file and then call that separate file. But for the purposes of this IB math paper, my students probably won't have a long list of references. They'll just have a handful. So I think the easiest way to do this is to go ahead and put it within this one TeX file. The first bibliography item I'm going to create, /bib item. We're going to give it a keyword, so whatever makes sense for this particular source, you can name it as you like. This is coming from Diamond Bar High School website, so I'm going to call it DBHS1. And that's just the keyword that I'm using to identify this source. So I'm going to type out that reference. Note that if you need a left quotation mark, you are using the key on the keyboard that is left of the number 1. A regular quotation mark will only produce a right quote. So right now my bibliography only contains one item. Let's see if we can get this working. So I am going to enter a page break. You can do /new page if you like. And then \begin the bibliography and empty curly brackets. And let's compile and see what we get. Oh, I began the bibliography, but I did not end it. So \end the bibliography. Okay, so what I have on a new page is my list of references. I'm going to go back and add a few more. For each new reference, I'm going to add a new bib item. So you don't have to watch me type all of these out. I will fast forward through that. Okay, so I've entered in some fake references, and you can see after those first two, I just started calling them name 1, name 2, name 3, name 4, etc. So one disadvantage of using this method to create a bibliography is you do have to enter all of your items in the order in which you would like to see them displayed. It is not going to automatically alphabetize. For example, if you want them alphabetical, you need to enter them in alphabetical order. But let's see how, now that we have our list of references, how we can cite them within the body of our document. I'm going to go back to my introduction, and at the end of my first paragraph, I'm going to create a citation here. So we'll allow all to experience a feeling of success. And I'm going to type \cite, C-I-T-E, and then in curly brackets, I simply need to enter the name or the label that I assigned to that citation. And we can see it's displayed here according to the number in which it's assigned in my list of references. And that completes our tutorial on how to write a basic paper with a title page, table of contents, bibliography, footnotes, and citations. I hope you found it helpful.